will stop my growth. Real talk. Look.
To error is human, to forgive is divine. I overheard that and it just stayed in my mind. Never knew at the time it would be an opening line of mine. But I'm ready to change my heart. I need a brand new start. The pain I hold inside keeps me so cold and dark. And I don't want this, I don't want this no more. It's like I'm in a cage, so full of burning rage. Oh, I so wanna change, but I am so afraid to let anyone in, because I'm scared they'll hurt me again. But I was told, just let it go and I'll be free. Give it to God and let it be. Pain is a part of life we all go through, but don't let it destroy you. Just let it go and you'll be free. Give it to God and be at peace. Pain is a part of life we all go through, but to heal you must forgive you. So each and every day, on my knees I pray, the Lord restores my faith, cause I so wanna change from who I become, because I'm hurting everyone around me. So I read instead, listen that scripture says, faith without works is dead, and I so wanna live. So to him I give all my pain and all of my guilt, cause it's like I'm in a cage so full of burning rage. Oh, I so wanna change, but I am so afraid to let anyone in, because I'm scared they'll hurt me again. But I was told, just let it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special Speak Out. Forgive my appearance, but we are right now remodeling the studio, so I'm just here in our little coopy hole right now, fixing it up. But today's a special on Speak Out. Normally on Speak Out, you hear me, speaking my my tongue off about things that are wrong and right. But today we're doing a special about suicide and depression. Many people wanted to ask me to do one, so I am going to be doing one today. This is normally a podcast, so you normally don't see me, but since today is a special, I figured I'll turn on the camera so you can see the person behind the voice of this podcast. So you can always chime in by commenting below. I will as well turn on the phones in a few minutes to take questions if you have any. And you can also chat on YouTube or wherever else that we are now. But I just want to say thank you guys for coming on. This is a very special podcast that we needed to speak about. And of course, it is about depression. So let me start by letting you guys know that Robert Williams, Nevada, I can go down the list. Shirley Temple, all these people that I mentioned, and of course, Miss USA herself. All these people that I mentioned, they have it going on for themselves. They're on TV. They have money, of course. Well, I don't know about Miss USA, but I know Robert Williams and them do. But they always out in the crowd. They always out being seen. And myself, I got to throw myself in there because I'm always seen everywhere. But did you know that each person that I mentioned has some kind of level of depression? Robert Williams had manic depression, suicide. Miss USA, I don't know which type of depression she had, but suicide. Shirley Temples had depression, and myself, I had manic depression, sleep disorder, and things like that, but you would never know. So we're going to be speaking about stuff like that today. I know a lot of people out there will say, I don't have it, I would never have it, blah, the blah, 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 and I'm off the air. Oh, okay. I thought I was off the air. Sorry about that. But many people would say they don't have it, which is not true. People do have high depression without even knowing it. Now, before I start off, I do want to say there's a difference between sadness and depression. A lot of people don't like to hear it, but it is true. Um, and since we are the world of people saying everything offends me and all that, well, saying you're depressed when you have sadness offends the people that really have depression. And not, I'm saying not in the sense of offense them, but in the sense of we would never get help because now they think everybody else has depression, if that makes any sense. Um, so you don't want to do that. You don't want to say you are depressed when you're not, when you have, when it's actually sadness. And I'm going to explain the difference today. Today's the first part of two parts of suicide and depression. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up because I've been seeing a lot of people committing suicide that people would never even notice that they had depression. And a couple people asked me to do this podcast, so hopefully Shirley Phillips and her class is watching as well. She wanted me to do it for her kids, her students. We got a couple people, Johnny, Javier, out there. So hopefully this will teach you a little bit about it and also understand it, because I know there are some machismo Latinos that be like, que depression y depression, ese está ahí dañado, déjalo quieto. In other words, that he's just no good, just leave him alone. He would get over it. So these are the kind of some of the words that people say. Don't worry about it, he'll get over it. It's just a thing that he does for attention. There's a couple other stuff out there that people will say that they're doing for that sake of the reason, when it is it's not the case. The case is that some of them do have depression. But let me narrow it down. If you're okay, laughing, having fun, someone passes away, start crying, feeling sad, going to the funeral, that's sadness. It's not depression, it's sadness. Because in a couple of days, you're going to be fine and running around. Am I correct? Or, if I'm saying anything that it is not correct, please chat in the room and let me know. But to me, it's not depression, because later on, when you talk about that one person, you're going to be like, yeah, it's sad that he left. But there's no tears. There's no sadness. There's no emotion lingering in your body at that moment after a year or so later. That is not depression. That's sadness. I'm missing the person very much, the sadness. So this is the reason why a lot of people don't know if people have depression or not, because of that reason. Depression hits from 40 years old all the way to 55 years old the most. And also, contrary to what people think, the winter holidays do not cause more suicides and depression than anything else. It's in the summer. The summertime, because the people are out there, they watching people gathering together, they missing a person, they feeling the emotions clicking in. Because some people with depressions love to be alone. So in the wintertime, it's their perfect time to be alone. So Christmas time and all that, that's another time that they want to be alone. Their depression seals them into a room. Well, with that said, I'm not saying that it's not affecting a lot of people in Christmas time, because it does. But according to the survey, more people have depression towards the summertime because of the gatherings. And if you got to remember, a lot of people get depression and anxiety when they're around the people. The anxiety kicks in. And when the anxiety kicks in, that's when the depression kicks in. That's why some people in the party, you can see them having fun. Look at him. He's getting all crazy and everything. And then in a couple of minutes later, you see them in the corner. That's depression. The anxiety went so high, their emotions were all fun, and then they go in the corner. That one moment that you leave them alone. I'm speaking of signs as well, as people can know. There are signs where you can see if a person has depression or not. Having fun with the person and running around and everything, that is one of the great signs of non-depression. So there's levels of depression. Before I get to the suicide and why it's meant to for everything else, there is many ways, many levels of depression. Some people don't even know they have it until they're older. And a lot of people from 55 to 65 are finding out that they had depression all this time. And it's like a teapot. You have it on the stove and boom, it blows. Well, at 55 to 65 is when they start retiring, when they start staying home more. That's when their emotions open up more. And it's more effective with them than anything else. And more of the suicides are coming from 55 and up because of that reason, because of the suicide reason. So, being a person of depression and suicide attempt and things like that, I feel a lot connected to the ones that did pass away. And also there's a big difference between a person that wants to kill themselves and a person that killed themselves. Because I hear people on the rooftop, I'm about to jump, I'm going to do this. That's not depression. That's a cry for help. Person with depression would never even tell you they're going to do that. They'll leave you a note. They'll tell you little hints here and there, give hugs to someone they never hugged before, say bye, instead of see you later like they normally do. Like they do something out of their norm. Those are little hints that they are getting tired and they are about to go. They're not going to tell you. And it's hard to hear this, but that's life. A person that's crying out for help will tell someone, hey, I'm about to jump off the roof. I'm right now on the roof. If you don't come, I'm done. I'm jumping. That's a cry for help. It's not a cry for depression. If you notice, everyone that passes away of suicide, the first thing that comes out of a person's mouth, wow, out of the blue? I didn't even know this. Exactly. They ninjas, you know what I'm saying? They like 007 when it comes down to they're going to kill themselves. They would not tell no one. Especially like Miss USA, no one knew. And if I'm not, Apollonia, if I'm mistaken, she was at a party, right? Yeah, I think she was at a party, but I know she lived on the 4th floor. She went all the way to the 9th. She really wanted to make sure. So these are the things that, like, you have to, read between the lines on these things. Like, really, really check. Oh, okay, I wasn't live on they just texted me. I wasn't live on the LDM network. Sorry about that. I just clicked on it, so I should be going live on the LDM network soon. But we're on the LDM show and Twitter and all that. So, but you have to read between the lines when it comes down to people with depression versus sadness. So, I know people here that pass by the studio many times as guests, even hosts that have been on our show many times before, that I can tell you have depression, and they don't even know it. Again, I call it the teapot depression, meaning that they don't know it, and then the one time that they do relax and stay home and do things, it's going to pop. And they are not going to know. So anxiety is one of them. Bipolar is a sort of a depression. And there's certain bipolars. There's some that just one day they happy, one day they angry at you and stuff like that. But then there's another depression bipolar, which is different. The depression bipolar, it's a mixture of their chemicals and their on their brain where they trying to explain to you something, but it doesn't come out correct. But in their mind, it did. But in your, you do not understand what they're trying to say. They get more upset, and that's when the anger comes out, and and they called it bipolar because you were sad and then now you're angry, and then so it's a roller coaster of emotions. I can sit here, engineer a show, and then in 5 minutes I'm like, oh my God, I want to go home. And there's nothing that's wrong. The show can be really good. Comments are going crazy. But it's just, I want to go home. And then 2-3 minutes later, I'm like, I can stay here. I'm liking it. So it's a roller coaster of emotions. But how do you fight it is what I want to explain through the course of this here. Because fighting depression is more than people even think you can do. It's something you can fight big time. But again, before I even go, if you do have depression, if you do have thoughts of suicide or anything that, because you don't know if it is depression or you don't know if it's cry for help, it's still something that you need to address and you still need to call. You can call our suicide prevention hotline. It's 1-800-273-TALK. So that's 1-800-273-8255. And there are people there that will listen to you, people like myself that understands. There are some people that probably don't, but they will still be in ear. Okay? So hopefully that would help you guys a little. I'll see if I flash the number below so you guys can see it as well, and see what we are speaking of. So far the clues, like I told you, is the happiness one moment, and as soon as everybody leaves, the sadness the other moment. The want to be home, don't want to really be outside too much. A lot of people will, and that's the problem with depression. A lot of people will take it as he's antisocial. He doesn't want to be around with people. Oh, look, he's always angry. Leave him by himself at home. He ain't going to bring that here. Oh, he's always sad. But they don't realize that might be a depression. So if you feel like that, don't automatically diagnose yourself and say, hey, I'm depressed. No, go into a professional. They'll speak to you and help you out, because there are ears out there that can listen and can give you point of views or give you places to go. But with that said, thank you, Maria. Again, yes, it's 1-800-273-TALK. That is our person that we always promote and everything. It's a lot of mood changes. So if anybody around that is watching now, I see a lot of people watching on all these things. So if you have depression and you just want to listen, by all means, sit there, listen, because I am going to speak about how you can fight it and how I've been fighting it for all these years, where people, when I tell them, they like, what? Yeah, right. But then when I tell them the moves, they were like, oh, wait, yeah, you did that the other day. Oh, wait, you weren't like that. You were happy and then you were quiet. So things like that happen, and I'm sorry if you heard my phone. I thought I put it on vibrate. But things like that do happen. The pandemic also, Maria says the pandemic also added to the mental illness and other stress. I'm glad you bring that up, because I was going to bring that up. The pandemic bring up a lot of anxiety, which is confused with the depression. And again, the sadness. Because I heard a lot of people, oh, man, I can't see my family that much. I miss my kids. That's sadness. Because as soon as you start seeing them, you're okay again. That's not depression. So that's why when a lot of people say that the pandemic is causing a lot of the people with depression, it's kind of right and it's kind of wrong. Now, this is why I'm saying it. It's wrong because the people that are saying that you have depression, it's sadness. You're missing going to the movie theater, seeing your friends, going to a bar. That's sadness. But the pandemic is bringing out some of the depression that was already in some of the people. That is true. Because like I said, a lot of people didn't know they had it because they were so busy in their life. Now the pandemic got them home, and now they have to be one with their feelings. Like like these people that say, go out and know yourself before you go to another date or go with someone else. That is the same said as depression. Stay by yourself in your house to see. Some people can last and relax, but some others, the depression will kick itself out. And that's when you realize, wow, I had depression all this time and I didn't know it. It's a minor depression, but nonetheless, it's still a depression part. It could manifest to a bigger level of depression, so you want to grab it before that does happen. So, again, you guys, thank you, Veronica, for that little thumbs up and like. I'm trying to look at, hey, Rosa, trying to like glance at every single chat room here that we on, but because again, this is supposed to be a podcast, but I just put the video up so you guys can see the person on, that the voice of the person. But normally this is a podcast, so you only listen. But again, so let's look at it before I speak about, because I only have a couple minutes for the part one. Remember, if you do see someone that has these signs, might not be depression, but that's like saying the person with a gun might not have bullets, so he might not shoot. No, it might, it still shows that he has the signs of depression. Maybe he doesn't have it. Maybe it's sadness. But who are we to judge that now? Let's find out first, little by little, because he might, and you might just have turned a person away that has it, and that person winds up killing themselves, or the nicer way to say, commit suicide. So even if they seem like they sad or seem like they depressed, still try to figure it out or send them for help. One thing you do not, I know it's kind of hard to say, but one thing you do not want to say to a person that is depressed is, don't worry about it. Talk to me. I'm here for you. I understand. If you're not a depressed person, you're not going to understand. So that makes the depressed person even a little more angrier and more. A lot of people say it with the kindness of their heart. I do understand that, because at first I didn't understand that. When many people was like, "Oh my God, if anytime you want to talk, I'm here for you." No, you're not, because there is no way you can tell my emotions to calm down. The only one that can learn how to do it first is you. Now, the person that's an ear, that's a bonus. That's lovely. But there are some people that say that. That's like Hollywood. Hey, if you're in the area, come and visit me. They don't really mean it. You know what I'm saying? So, and then people with depression, they don't want to be the burden to you. And that's kind of hard. You know what I'm saying? So if someone is there saying they'll be an ear for you, let them be that ear for you. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's the only thing they can help you with. And you need to learn as a depressed person to grasp on that and have that help you lower your depression down instead of getting angry about it. Yeah, maybe they don't understand, but help them understand so they can understand you, if that makes any sense. So, and Maria said, people can feel free to reach out for support and assistance. Yes, feel by all means. If the 1-800 number that I gave you, if you call that number, it's a phone. So you don't really have to show yourself. You don't have to say your name. And again, that's 1-800-273-TALK. You don't have to feel like you're a burden to them. That's what they do. That's who they are. So if you feel like, oh, I know my friend or my best friend said I can call them anytime, but I don't want to call them. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to be a burden to them. Okay, then. Use the 1-800-273-TALK. You understand what, But if you do have someone out there that want to be an ear, use them for a little bit. It helps. It helps a lot. Kids nowadays, they feeling the sadness and the anger and the confusion of everything that it boils down, and it could crumble down to a depression. So you have to watch that as well. Teenagers and are on the rise now. Um, so, and it's because they don't have the tools on learning how to fight it. If you know, you got bullying on one side, you got uh, love connection, anxiety on the other side. You got peer pressure on one side. You got the teaching on the other side, the keeping the grades, not disappointing your parents. You got all these crumbled up. Adults, we have a lot. We have bills. We have the house. We have to make sure our kids are done. The food is good. So we have all that too. They just have a whole different that we used to have. Now we, graduated into more pressure. But kids and adults have all this pressure, but they do not have the tools to know how to release it. And that's what I learned through the course of years. So again, this is, if you guys are just listening in on the radio as well, we're speak out about suicide prevention and depression and anxiety. So it leads up to that. So some of the tools that I learned, I will tell you the story like many people. In order to know something or somebody, you will have to know yourself. So the story of myself when I learned I had depression was when I had a back injury at work, caused me to be paralyzed for a couple of months. When I heard the doctor say, "You're not going to walk again, so we're going to have to," I was like, what? Oh my God, sadness kicked in. So when the sadness kicked in, I didn't know it was more of a trigger to the depression, and if you understand what I mean. But the depression was always there, as I learned later on, because when I couldn't walk, or they said I couldn't walk, they sent me a therapist and a psychiatrist to speak to me because of, or one day you're walking, one day you're not. But, heavens blessed me. A couple months later, I walked again, but the depression was there. So I didn't have the tools to fight it. Didn't know what to do. I didn't even know how to feel. My family was around. I was like, hey. I'll go to the kitchen because I was feeling these emotions popping up. So, people with depression, did they take their lives? I tried to. Didn't work. Again, I didn't tell nobody. Went to the parking lot, pulled out my 45, and it didn't trigger. It didn't go. So this is a true story that hardly no one knows. But if you're listening, your first time you're hearing about me, this is a story that needed to be said. Didn't work. It worked later on. It didn't work then. So it was like a sign that I was not supposed to go. So then I started learning, what can I do every time I feel the depression? Well, there's key things that happen. You have to find your trigger. What causes the depression? Write it down. As soon as you start feeling depressed, what was around you? What were you speaking of? What were you doing? Then if you feel it again, write it again. Write it about 4 to 5 times. Even if it happens 4 to 5 times in one day. Then look at your notes. See where the pattern is. That would help you slow down the depression, because hey, I went to this store. Every time I go to that store, my anxiety or my depression kicked in. I went 5 times, and 5 times my depression kicked in. So guess what? Don't go to that store no more. You know what I'm saying? So write it down every time you feel anxiety or depression, so you can know what triggers. There are certain songs. Like they said, music can put you in a place that you thought you forgot, but you remember where you were, what you were wearing, who was around you, just because of music. So imagine music could be another trigger to your depression. So watch what songs you listen to, how you listen to it, where, with whom. So these are little tools that you can use for yourself, or if you know someone that has depression, write this down and give it to them. Like, hey, I learned that these are little tools you can use to help yourself. Food. A lot of people don't know this. Food is another cause of your anxiety more than your depression. But there are food that if you eat, you'll feel more, how they call that, I have the itis type of thing, you know. But instead of the wow, you're relaxed and you're feeling good and you want to go to sleep, it gives you the I'm feeling down. I don't want to do nothing. I'm tired and I didn't even do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Uh, that is certain foods that cause depression. Sugar highs, and all of a sudden you got the sugar low. So that's basically what a food can do. So if you're eating something, write down what you ate. You understand? So the first thing, like I said, the first thing is know your triggers. So write them down. The second thing is after you learned your triggers, not all of them, because as I go, I learn. As you learn your triggers, if you know, like I always tell people, if you know the problem, then what is the solution? Don't just say I have a problem and then don't want to find a solution to it. So find a solution. If it's a store, then I'm sorry. I love you guys. I always go to this store since I was young, but I can't come here no more because this is one of the causes of my depression. If that makes any sense. So, especially a bodega, you gotta. I'm in New York. I got so many bodegas. I don't need to go to that same one that causes me depression. So, you know what I'm saying? So, and then Maria said music also scientifically helpful. Smoothie music, research type of music, instrumental. Exactly. That's why I said that there are certain music that can take you to a place and a happy place. There's some music that can take you to a low place. So just watch it. And it depends on who it is. Me, music, the old 80 soft rock and all that, that takes me to a place where if I would have took myself, I would have had depression. But music, for some reason, smooths it. So I learned that by writing it down. Whoa, I listened to soft rock and my anxiety went down a little. I did it 6 times and every time my anxiety went down a little. So now when I get anxiety and I'm outside or click on some soft rock music, some back in the day Queen Latifah type of thing, you know, not too hardcore hip hop. I don't like those. That was hip hop. LL Cool J, you know, stuff like that. Where in the '80s it smooths me down because I guess my brain is contemplating on, wait a minute, you're taking it back when you were a youngster, where you didn't understand if you had depression or not, so it didn't affect you. So I'm thinking, you know, you got to psych yourself out. In other words. Because depression is a brainwave function, which is, you know, fluids in your brain and everything that goes chaotic. So you have to trick yourself. And they say you exercise your bones, right? Oh, my back is always hurting. So you start exercising it. Your leg is always, you start exercising, muscle people. But no one really tries to exercise their brains. And that's where we need to learn how to do. We try to learn how to use music, dancing, laughing. But again, depression people like ourselves, we're the perfect actors. I can sit here, I do stand-up comedy for you, I can laugh and joke around, and I'll turn the corner and I'll just sit down. And they were like, wow, that was the guy that was all laughing. Because I learned that I don't want to bring my depression into your world and make you sad, ruin your day. You know what I'm saying? So Robert Williams was a perfect example. He gave us so much laughter, so much movies, so much, and all this time, every time he goes home, he was depressed. After he shot a shoot, no one can go into his trailer for a couple minutes. He wanted to sit there by himself and relax, which they messed that up. They shouldn't have done that. They should have knocked on the door. You okay? And this and that, because that's was his know-how. No one's going to bother me because I know, and that's when he happens. Journals, yeah, journals are very helpful. That's why I said journalists, I'm sorry. And journals, diaries, whatever you want to keep, just write it down. Depression, a lot of times, you can be doing one thing and then wind up doing something else, Or you are happy to do this. It's like you have a new toy, you want to play with that new toy, and then you don't want to play with it no more. And that's the roller coaster. So if you do that, some people were like, you just lose attention. You had attention span, attention, this kind of words, whatever they use. No, it can be depression. So look it up. go to someone and talk to someone, but most of all, always speak to somebody, right? The third thing, what I said, write it down, music, food. The fourth thing is the place, the people around you. You have to watch that. A lot of people don't really figure that out. But a lot of people around you get you angry or get you sad or they'll bring you even down. Because remember, this is a level of depression, let's say. Your sadness will be here, right? But because you're sad, our hormones and everything will pick it up and pick it up. Now, here it goes, our depression. It rises and rises. It keeps going up because we feel that. And now we're like, oh, my God, he's depressed. Yeah, now I'm starting to feel depressed. And you know what I'm saying? And it's like when a female is pregnant and the husband feels that nausea and everything. That's how depressed people feel. So that's why sometimes we're like oh, I'm going home. It's not that they don't want to be around you. It's because it's kicking in. If that, makes any sense in the matter. So learn these little things, and it might help you in sort of understanding. And you might even be like listening right now and be like, wait a minute. I know someone like that. Maybe that person, he or she does have depression. You will never know. So you would have to try to be an ear. Like people say, you hear me, or you're listening, or you're hearing me. Yeah, I hear you, but you're not listening. And I'm not talking about listen to what they say, listen between the lines. Because this is why I'm speaking about suicide prevention, because some of the depressed people, they tell you already they're going to kill themselves, but you never heard the words behind them. You never seen the emotions. I'm still doing Buddhism, and that helped me a lot, learning how to be spiritual and learning how to know what is an emotion and what is a thought and how to grab. Now, I'm not saying it works all the time, but back in the 20s and 30s, Charles, I'm way better now in figuring it out how to fight it. One day I might slip. I don't know. But right now, these are the tools that are helping. I'm not saying it helps every single person. I'm just saying my experience of how I'm fighting it every single day is by doing these things. And one of the things that my martial arts teacher told me was, listen with your eyes. And I used to be like, what? Listen with your eyes. This guy's crazy. You can't listen with your eyes. And then he said, yeah, you could. The same way you see with your ears. And I'm like, what? And I'm going to explain to you what he means. Listen with your eyes. Because when you see things, the person is telling you, and you can hear them. If I grab a bat and I squeeze it so freaking hard, he's telling you, and you're hearing that the anger that's coming out of him. So that's what he means about listen with your eyes. So if a depressed person is saying, oh man, I had a lot of fun. Yeah, and I was going crazy. But if you notice, I'm not even looking in the camera when I'm speaking to you at that moment. That's a lot of depressed people do. They'll tell you all the good things they're doing, but they don't seem excited about it. They're looking down because it's all a front. So see, what you're seeing is what you're hearing. It's the cry out, what they're saying. That's why he said, you hear with your eyes. And you see with your ears is, because if you close your eyes, you might hear the voice. You might hear the depression in him. So you can see it now. You can see what the person is dealing with. My son is 5 years old, and once in a while, he can see it in me. That he'll come on the sofa, I love you, and just give me a hug. And I'll be like, what's that for? And he was like, nothing. I think you needed it. So he knows. Like, he sees it. I speak to him about it. So he knows the difference. My wife knows the difference. And to this day, she still tries to fight let me see if this depression, or let me see if this is just the anger part, and try to help balance it out. You know what I'm saying? But it's a fight for her too, because, sometimes I want to do things, sometimes I don't. you know. So, you know, and it says, Maria, and remember, you're not alone. Yes, thank you. That's the one thing I'm glad of the podcast. I can always just go on the podcast and talk. I have my family, friends, people out there. So things like that help. It really, really helps a lot. So today, the first part, it was just understanding depression and understanding. Next Tuesday is the second part. I'm going to really dive into how to fight it, how the warning signs, and the warning signs of suicide. But remember, a person with depression and a person with sadness is two different things, but we do not know until we really dive into their life and talk to them. So a cry out is a person that wants to be on a rooftop and say, I'm going to jump and scream and tell people to come to see them before they jump. That's a cry out. It's not a depression. A depression, you need to learn the key words of the person that's going to commit suicide. So you just have to learn these things and keep it going. But like I said, if you have any questions, please, by all means, inbox me. I'll try to answer as best as I can towards my experience. The one thing I don't like too much about some of the psychiatrists and some of the therapists, they never went through it. They only reading a book, but they never experienced it or never seen someone really experienced it. It has to go through experience. So speak to someone. This way, the person with depression can help you. It's like a job interview. If you go to a job and you don't know how to work a machine, the person that knows how to work the machine would help you. Well, that's what depression is. The person with depression would help you understand, so now you can understand how to help them, if that makes any sense. So my time is up, but I want to thank you guys for listening in, and for the ones that were watching, and learning a little bit about what is really depression, what is really anxiety and bipolar stuff. We didn't really touch into too much of the anxiety and the bipolar, but the anxiety comes, it's a thing about anxiety. It's really meaning when a person cannot explain to you too much. That's where it feels like. You ever feel frustrated, like you're trying to tell somebody something, but it doesn't want to come out? That's how anxiety feels, okay? So when things like that happen, by all means, speak to someone or joke around, talk to them, see if it will help you. But if you're going to be an ear to someone, then really be an ear, because if you say the wrong trigger word, it could cause a trigger downfall, and which what we call an avalanche. And a depressed person that hits an avalanche, it's very hard to pick them back up, and that's where it goes towards the suicide. So be careful what you tell a person. If you don't know how to speak to a person with depression, listen to them. Couple words you can say to them is, how do you feel about it? What would you want to change? Make it be about them figuring it out if you do not know how or what to say to them. Things like that would help. Asking them the question instead of you saying, well, maybe if you go home, you'll probably snap out of it. Oh, come with me to the party, boy. There's a lot of people there. You'll probably forget what's going on. Those things that you say can trigger a depression person even more. So be careful what you tell them. So if you want to be an ear, by all means, we need that. But if you don't know how to speak to them, just ask them questions about them. And listen to their story and then reverse the story. Oh, yeah, I was in the car and I was feeling all depressed and stuff. Yeah? Where were you driving at? Where were you doing and what you were doing? You understand? So those are the things you can do. So I want to thank you guys for coming and watching and listening. I'm Charles Laloma, and this is Speak Out. We'll catch you next Tuesday, 6 p.m., regular time. Have a good time. Bye-bye.
LDM Radio.
New York City's LDM Radio.